Dollar Tree executives are using inflation as an excuse to raise their prices to something that makes the name of their company completely irrelevant. This comes as the company, by the way, is making record profits. Dollar Tree CEO Michael Witynski, who raked in around $11 million in total compensation last year in 2020, announced Tuesday that his company is raising prices to $1.25 at stores across the United States, pointing to the current inflationary environment. So Warren Gunnels, who, of course, works closely with Bernie Sanders, he is the director for Senate Budget Chair Bernie Sanders, had a great tweet about this, and I noticed it got a lot of attention for good reason. He writes, Dollar Tree made over $1 billion, $1.23 billion in profits this year, and then gave its CEO over $10 million in pay, while its workers get as little as $8.32 an hour. Over 7,400 Dollar Tree employees are forced to rely on food stamps and Medicaid subsidized by U.S. taxpayers. Cite the damn corporate greed. And I loved that tweet because the media's coverage of this has been absolute garbage, because they just take what the corporate executives say at face value. Oh, I mean, inflation, it's inflation. They say it's inflation, so they have to raise their prices. Okay, but does that really make sense? How about dig in? How about dig into the financials, the basics when it comes to the company health? Like, how much money did they bring in 2020? Did they really suffer from the pandemic? What are the real issues here? Just raising prices to $1.25. It might not sound like a big deal to you, might not sound like a big deal to a lot of people, but consider, the people who rely on these discount stores to make ends meet. I mean, 25 cents is a pretty significant increase in price, right? When it comes to items that people need to buy from stores like Dollar Tree. And I love that Warren Gunnels wants these reporters to cite the corporate greed, because you're not going to get that citation. I'll give you a good example of that. Here is one way that you're likely to see this story covered in the press.
On Wall Street, positive reaction. Investors have long been pressuring these dollar stores to raise their prices. Dollar Tree's stock price soaring in response to this news. On Main Street, a far less kind reaction.
Oh, is Wall Street really happy about this news? Remember, it's all about maximizing profits. Maximizing profits means a better return for shareholders. So of course, shareholders love that Dollar Tree has increased its prices. I mean, that's what they've been pressuring the executives to do, and that's exactly what they did. Now, let's get back to corporate CEOs and how they performed, how much money they made. That's a better way of putting it. How much money they made during the pandemic. So the Institute for Policy Studies noted in a May study that the CEO for the Dollar Tree, who took over as the Dollar Tree CEO in July of 2020, received $11.3 million in total compensation last year. That's 715 times as much as the pay for the company's median worker, a part-time U.S. store employee who earned $15,816. But by the way, don't think that the dollar store is this isolated case. This practice is really seen across the board when it comes to the most profitable corporations in the country. So in 2020, according to a recent analysis by the Economic Policy Institute, CEOs made 351 times as much as a typical worker, and CEO pay has soared by a whopping 1,322% since 1978. Oh, they're doing just fine, just fine. And they'll use any example to maximize their profits. In this case, oh, we're worried about inflation. Inflation's hitting us hard. We got to raise our prices. Of course they would do that. Gives them an excuse to make more money without having to change a damn thing, right? A report released earlier this month by the watchdog group Accountable.us found that at least a dozen major U.S. corporations have reported nearly $11 billion in profits. The same quarter, they announced price increases, along with over $34 billion in stock buybacks and dividends this year. And some of those companies, by the way, include Procter & Gamble, PepsiCo, Coca-Cola. They ain't hungry. They're doing well. They're doing real well. But they could be making more money by exploiting the awful reporting on inflation that we've seen in the press. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. So there you have it. I'm going to read one more graphic because this is important. This is from the Wall Street Journal of all places. They say that nearly 2 out of 3 of the biggest U.S. publicly traded companies have profited or reported fatter profit margins so far this year than they did over the same stretch of 2019. They're doing better today than they did prior to the pandemic. Nearly 100 of these giants have booked 2021 profit margins. The share of each dollar of sales a company can pocket that are at least 50% above 2019 levels. But they probably don't want the media to report that, because they want to justify the price increases as if they're really, really suffering and struggling with inflation. It's just absolute garbage. I mean, it just shows you how much the corporate media helps to either provide cover or even do the bidding of these corporate goons.